Hi, welcome to Storytime with Dad Booker. Appreciate you being here. And as you can see, the book is out, and this is number 4. So I am very excited that I finally got my copy. I hope you'll get one too. And we're going to start now. I screwed up. I don't mind admitting sometimes what I do. And what I've done is I put out that we're going to read family, or I put out that we're going to read more family, and then we'd be doing family tomorrow. That's out of order, but it's really not going to be a problem. So we'll do more family today, and then we'll do family tomorrow or on Friday. So this one is more family. So let's put this out here because I don't really need it right now. Julia looked at Morgan in frustration. He was paddling after her like a child with his mother. Morgan had never had time to develop a hobby, and now that the events were sewed up, he only needed to go in a few days a week, or when an event was happening. And much as Morgan talked about wanting to be retired, he didn't have a clue how to go about it. He was used to a life of activity and challenges. He could relax, but only for a few minutes. Then he'd be up again trying to find something to do. Julie was getting ready to go to school. She had a job of sorts, even if it was a volunteer work. Darling, why don't you go see Rocky? I know he loves it when you two get together and swap stories. She patted his cheek. He looks up to you almost like you're his hero. Morgan blushed. Nah, he's done as much as I ever did and will do it plenty more. He's a mayor now and he can do some real good for this town. And he's a hell of a smarter than I am. Plus, he's a good husband and father. I really appreciate that, seeing as his wife's my daughter. She looked at him like, see, the hero worship runs both ways. Seriously, though, you've got to find something to do, love. You're like a motor grinding its gears. If you're worried about disturbing Rocky, see Agnes and Mary. Take them out to breakfast or something. Yeah, good idea. I'll take the truck over to the snow house. Well, you won't find them there. They bought a bunch of things over and are living in Rocky's old home for a while. In that case, I'll walk over. He kissed Julia and then did so again. Holding her close, he enveloped her in warmth and love before tearing himself away to see his family. Walking around, he took the long way out of town and down an old rutted road that led to Rocky's home before he married Agnes. Rocky apparently had filled up a lot of the ruts with gravel and covered them with dirt. Knowing Rocky, he figured he'd done it so that Agnes could drive her car into town without bottoming out every 5 yards. He was about to knock when Agnes snatched open the door, practically bumping into Morgan, and stopped cold. Dad, you couldn't have come at a better time. She put Mary into his hands and kissed his cheek. I've got to run into town for a second. I'll be right back, so you stay and play with Mary for a while. I won't be long, promise. She kissed his cheek again and leapt for her car and roared off. Morgan held his granddaughter at arm's length. It'd been so long since he'd care for a baby on his own, he had a lot of remembering to do. Holding her close, he went inside and closed the door. Rocky and Agnes were certainly redecorating and repairing. Agnes must have been painting the living room and dining room. From the looks of the kitchen, they had been living in it for the most part while the rest of the house was being freshened up. Morgan sat on the couch and bounced Mary on his knee. Well, young lady, just you and just us, so what do you want to do? She looked up at him, grinning momentarily before the bouncing caused her stomach to become upset, and she promptly lost her milk. Thinking what was difficult is it seemed Mary was ticklish and squirmy. Once she was cleaned up, he put her down and worked on himself. One thing Marvin had forgotten was how fast a small child can move. When he looked down again, Mary was no longer beside him. Figuring that she couldn't have gotten that far, he went in search. Agnes had often said that little Mary was ahead of the curve, and she was right. Mary was crawling with amazing speed. With disquiet, he realized she was heading straight for the ladder. Running, he tripped over her blanket spread out on the carpet. As he fell, he realized he was dropping right on top of her. He spun in the air and landed beside her, his shoulder hitting the paint pan and splashing paint on himself and a bit on Mary. He sighed. Come on, girl, back to the sink. Once more, he got her cleaned up and then wiped his face. Mary began to cry. Morgan realized he hadn't spent enough time with her to know what the cry meant. You hungry? On the stove was some bean soup. He tested one of the beans and they were soft. Tucking a towel inside her chair, he sat her in and added more towels so she could sit up and stay. Tucker came in and sat beside him. If anything dropped, he would take care of it. Morgan got a couple of bowls of soup, mashed hers, and tested it for temperature. Just nicely warm. Tasted his bowl. Yeah, pretty darn good. You should like this. He began to feed her and smiled when she couldn't get it down fast enough. Your mom's as good a cook as her mom was. After eating, they went outside by the river and he dipped her toes into the running water. She giggled as the water rushed under and over her feet. Picked her up and held her while making a tour of the backyard. You know, fresh air is good for you. It'll make you grow up good and strong. I bet you'll be climbing trees and frightening the life out of your parents. Now I'll have to teach you how to climb doorways and walls and closets. Then you can scare your mom like she used to scare me. Looking around, he decided that he really did need to come over more often. The place needed a treehouse and a tire swing. Now, it wasn't essential immediately, but kids grow fast, and it wouldn't be long before Mary would be old enough to want them. Best be prepared. You'd have to make sure that Larry had one also. Kids needed plenty of outside equipment to keep them fit. He was as fond of Talbot as he was of Rocky, and just one big happy family. That's what we are. Agnes came over and thanked Morgan for watching Mary. Agnes, I want to apologize for not coming over enough and seeing you and Mary. Agnes looked shocked. Dad, we know you're busy. Come over when you can. Morgan sat down and hung his head. That's what makes me so damn mad at myself. I am not that damn busy. I've been wallowing in a hog trough of self-pity, mooching around and griping about being retired. Should be helping you and Rocky get this place cleaned up. Very least I could watch Mary. Agnes hugged him and kissed his cheek. She looked around as she saw the splattered paint. Dad, what happened? It looks like you fell. By the look of the spray, you all right? She saw the paint dried on his clothes he hadn't been able to wipe off. She rushed upstairs and brought him one of Rocky's robes. Here, go change and I'll wash those before the paint sets. He was going to argue that it was fine, but she pulled him upright and pushed him to the bathroom. By the time he came out with the clothes, Mary was in the crib and drinking a bottle. Agnes put the clothes in the washer and reheated the soup. While she was busy with the cooking, he was going through the Sears catalog and looking at playground equipment and tree houses. Grabbing the phone, he placed an order for the items he wanted and had delivery at Rocky and Talbot's homes. He laughed to think of the shock Talbot and Michaela would have when the packages arrived. Honey, you can expect a few packages in a while from Sears. Just have them drop them off when they get here in the back and let me know when they arrive. Dad, what did you do? Just a little something for my granddaughter and grandson. Grandson? Larry, what I've got coming here is going to his place too. This is fun. Morgan remembered the shed and that a large coil of rope was inside along with a decent sized tire. Hell, no time like the present to get things started. He rushed outside to the shed, emerging with a long ladder, a coil of rope, and a tire. Agnes was so busy making salad and biscuits that she hadn't noticed him going out back until she saw him climbing the ladder with one end of the rope. Terror-stricken, she rushed out. She was about to yell at him to get down, but thought it might shock him, then he really might fall. She contented herself with holding the ladder and keeping an eye on him. With the rope tied securely, he climbed down, only to be swatted on his leg as he passed Agnes. Dad, what the hell are you trying to do? Kill yourself? Nope, just putting up a tire swing for Mary. He squatted, holding the tire on his legs as he tied off the other end. There, that should hold her just fine. Sure, Dad, but she won't be able to use it for quite a while yet. Yeah, true, but then you and Rocky can have fun with it. Won't that be nice and romantic? Rocky came home for lunch and they sat down around the kitchen table. Mary woke at the sound of Rocky's arrival and cried for her papa. Over lunch, they discussed the treehouse and swing. Morgan had asked what else they thought would be good to have outside. I was thinking about getting a croquet set for each of our places. Then we can have a round robin tournament at each. Kind of gives a reason to get together. Dad, you might want to check with Julia before you spend that vast fortune you seem to think you've got. Morgan checked. Well, we're doing fine, and you made sure I had plenty to retire on. Hell, we could spend plenty and still leave a tidy sum for you. But you do have a point. I ought to discuss stuff with Julia more often. Still getting the hang of being married again. Rocky and Agnes cleaned up while Morgan brought Mary into the front room. While Agnes and Rocky finished painting the living room, Morgan was on all fours, crawling after Mary and grabbing at her feet. He was laughing and finally realizing the joys of being a grandpa. The sounds of merriment died off, and Rocky strode in, curious as to the silence. On the floor was Morgan curled up with Mary's blanket as a pillow. Mary was cradled in the crook of his arm, asleep in the safest place in the world, her grandpa's arms. Rocky got the Instamatic out of the closet and took a picture. When it finished developing, he wrote on the border, "The great Marvin Morgan, worn out by a 6-month-old granddaughter." All right, so that's it for today, and we'll be doing family on Friday. So apologize for doing these out of sequence, but they're kind of individualized, so it won't hurt anything. So that's it for today. I appreciate you being here. I hope to see you on Friday when we read family. And like I said, the book's out, so ebook and this. So hope you get a copy. Thanks for being here. I look forward to seeing you. Be good and be good to yourself. Bye-bye.